Hey folks, my name is Rene Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored.
This is Rene Enriquez. Nickname Bootser. Blackhand of the Mexican Mafia. Prison gang politics.
Hey folks, my name is Rene Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored. Today we got a special treat. It's been asked for a number of times and we are going to do it.
Hey, what's happening? This is Victor Rivers, Magic from Blood In, Blood Out. So I'm going to go sign it. Hey, Rene, you're doing a great job changing your life. You got to stick with it. I could have been this guy in real life, and I had people that invested in me, and I was able to go from gang member to school president. So you can do it.
Talk about Blood In, Blood Out, the movie, right? And in the sequence of these movies, American Me, Blood In, Blood Out, American Me was published first in 1992. By Universal Pictures, and Blood In, Blood Out was published in 1993. Somebody called me on that and said that Blood In, Blood Out came first, but that's not the case. Obviously, there's Miko, Paco, and the brother, the heroin addict. I had his name written down somewhere. I have some notes right here, too, that I took on timestamps. But I wanted to dispel some of the myths, because there's a lot of mythology that goes along with American Me in this movie, and how it parallels the Mexican Mafia, and there's been questions as to why people were eliminated as a result of American Me, and why didn't people get eliminated as a result of the publication of Blood In, Blood Out, right? And we're going to address all that today. But first, Philadelphia 215 made a comment. Love to see a video reaction of Blood In, Blood Out if you didn't already. Well, I did American Me as depicted here. This is the video. Gosh darn it, right there. Right here. I did this, I think last year, right? When I had one of the previous channels. I just so happened to have the video, so I brought it over to this channel, and it's available on this channel. It's a pretty good review. I don't want to do a reaction to it because I don't do reaction videos. I just want to do a review of the movie, right? So let me go to my notes real quick. But this is spawned by multiple individuals asking me to do a reaction on Blood In, Blood Out. I mean, in the very opening of the movie, it opens up with like iconic murals and iconic landmarks, like the murals in East LA. They drive down Brooklyn Avenue. You see the General Hospital. You see Soto Street, right? And obviously the actors are Damian Chapa as Miklo, Billy Bob Thornton as Lightning, Benjamin Brad as Paco, and Danny Trejo as Geronimo. And Crucito, the individual, is the artist. You know, right off the top, he's doing a painting about Quetzalcoatl, and he calls him the great Aztec poet king, right? Which is not, it's not accurate, right? If you know anything about Aztec mythology, Quetzalcoatl is the plumed serpent or the feathered serpent. He's the god of duality, the god of our precious self, right? He brings culture and duality brought culture and duality to the Mexica, right? And the movie starts off kind of like all of our lives, right? But it's a bit farcical. It is a little over the top. You see the acting, the cholo behavior. Orale, vato. Simón ese. And it sounds lame. It really does. You know, it really does. But I wanted to go to this picture real quick and show you. Right here. This iconic picture. This is a picture of some of the founders. Not all of them are founders. Like Buff Flores, Benjamin Peters, Cheyenne Cadena. I knew there were founders. I think some of these other guys are founders, but I know some of them are not, right? I know Joe wasn't a founder. He was brought in like second, third wave, right? But this picture here is iconic of the organization, right? Everybody sees it. Everybody has seen this picture. And it kind of, the parallel with this picture here kind of threw me aback. and it would be the pictures that's shown. I'll dig up the picture right now, but it's this picture of Popeye and his crew standing in front of the lower yard wall where they all pose, and Popeye's centered in the picture. So it's iconic of the organization. You can see the parallels all day long. In fact, Miklo, the white character, is templated after Joe Morgan. It's loosely based on Joe Morgan. And I'm pretty shocked because Universal put out American Me, and Joe Morgan responded with a lawsuit against Universal Pictures for damaging his chance to parole and utilizing his life rights without permission. And it was summarily dismissed. The attorney that represented Joe Morgan on that was Shirley McDonald. I knew her. She was a friend of mine. But no suit was filed here. Immediately after American Me came out, Blood In, Blood Out came out, and it was really based on the organization. Loosely, you know, because they called it La Onda, right? And that means wave or happening, right? You know, and I watched the movie, and you can see some of the things. If you've been to San Quentin, you know the Chow Hall, which is kind of the opening scene where Miklo goes to San Quentin, and he's approached by the transsexuals, and Popeye meets him for the first time. But you can see on the walls these kind of beige and brown murals on the walls, but they're iconic to San Quentin, and they're beautifully done. They've been there since ever. I was there in San Quentin, and I saw them then, and nobody's painted over them. And that's at 4137. You see the San Quentin murals. Then at 4220, Popeye intervenes because the trannies in the joint are trying to get Miklo, right? And he seems scared, right? He seems like they spooked him, right? But here's the farcical behaviors that don't gotta act that way. You know, the way that these individuals are acting, like over the top Popeye and some of these guys, El Mero Mero and all these guys, it's just ridiculous, right? And then Bonafide at 4310, the leader of the BGA, the Black Guerrilla Army. And that's closely templated after the Black Guerrilla family, right? As with the AV. Instead of the AB, it's AB, Aryan Vanguards. But the Aryan Brotherhood, right? And the manner in which these individuals talk to the Mexican Mafia is crazy. These perceived La Onda members or Mexican Mafia members, almost victims bowing down to the wills of other races. That's just not how it runs in prison. I mean, anybody who's been there, you'll know that this just doesn't happen. There would be killings behind that. There would be eliminations behind that. They call them the AVers. That's when they're walking to the Chow Hall, and Popeye is introducing Miklo to the people, right? At 4310, Bonafide shows his comb and says there's power in this comb, this Afro pick, which is kind of ridiculous because the power of the BGF was not in an Afro pick, right? Obviously, Hollywood artistic license here, right? And then at 4358, he introduces the AVers, or the Aryan Vanguard. And then at 4451, Red Ryder, the leader of the AVers, talks about rent to Popeye. Like he's going to tax the Mexican Mafia. And at 45 minutes, you see the La Onda, they start doing all these funny hand signs, and they respond, right? You know, one of the things that struck me really, really deeply was at 46 minutes in the movie where they're escorting somebody out of condemned row, which is death row, right? It's death row is on the sixth tier, actually. It's the only prison in the state of California that has a sixth floor, right? The other ones have 5 tiers. The old prisons like Folsom, San Quentin. I think Chino had 3 tiers. Most of the other prisons had 3 tiers, but Folsom and San Quentin had 5 tiers, right? But on top of North Block, there's the condemned row. It's sealed off. You're going by an elevator. And as soon as you walk in a North Walk, you see it painted right there, condemned row. and then they would escort people out of Condemned Row. They'd yell out, "Escort!" And there'd be two COs walking with PR-24s, those batons, right? And they'd yell out, "Dead man walking." They really did do this at some point. And when I got there, they had just stopped. They had just stopped doing that, but they used to call it out, "Dead man walking." That means a condemned inmate was walking and they were being escorted, right? And that brought back memories of San Quentin. So the film is based in San Quentin. It's got the real feel there, right? Because this is the real prison, right? And a lot of us have been there, so it brings back that nostalgia. Like, it evokes those memories of being incarcerated there. And San Quentin was a killing field. I mean, they eliminated people left and right. The most that I saw was 3 in one day. 3 people eliminated one day. 2 guys shot by guards. 1 guy's killed by inmates. But it was a pretty rough and tumble place. You know, I did a lot of notes on this, and I don't think I'm going to cover all these notes, but I just wanted to point out one of my favorite lines in the movie was at 47:44 when Popeye pushes Miklo into the cell and tells him, "Now give me some chon chon, you white bitch." It's hilarious, right? It's hilarious. Obviously, Miklo was not a carnal at the time or a member of La Onda. But this kind of stuff just doesn't happen. It does, you know, that kind of stuff happen in prison? Sure, I'm sure it happens. Obviously it happens, right? But not like that. Not like that. You know, for me, the movie was farcical. It was almost a comedy of the organization. And somebody who was an advisor to this movie, thought up that this would be really cool, right? And I really think it's become a cult favorite, right? Blood In, Blood Out. You can't deny it. Everybody's watched it, and we all get a kick out of it, right? But it's farcical. I remember too at 1 hour 15 minutes 24 seconds they blow the whistle, right? Because the guards didn't have those electronic alarms at one time. All they had was a whistle on their like little lapel right here. It was right here. And they would use the whistle. They would blow the whistle, and then they'd yell, "Man down." That when you heard a whistle, all the guards would come running, right? And then they'd yell, "Get down!" The gun rails, because there's lethal coverage. And you know what really struck me was when Miklo's on the tier, walking on the tier for the first time, how close the gun rail is to the tier. It's like a couple arms distance. It's point blank range, and they would shoot inmates from point blank range from that 12 gauge of the Mini 14, the Ruger 223, and it would eliminate people. It would eliminate them. You know, if you were stabbing somebody or fighting and you didn't stop or you didn't get down, you would get shot. But the whole concept of this Onda thing, negotiating with other gangs for peace and power sharing, what was really kind of ridiculous, you know, the organization didn't negotiate with anybody when I was a member. I mean, it was the dominant force among all organizations. It didn't need peace. It didn't care for peace. And it would go to war at the drop of a hat, because there are a lot of apex predators in the organization, right? Real killers among killers, right? Violent guys. And for me, seeing the way La Onda was depicted, like in the Chow Hall, when Magic doesn't get his pork chop, and Big Al starts espousing his racist crap to the organization. It's something that wouldn't have been tolerated. How the BGA talks to the La Onda, and how the AV talks to La Onda, it just would not have been tolerated. You know, there's a lot of Hollywood influence in this movie. I think they thought it would be more romanticized with this over-the-top acting and over-the-top scenes. Like in one instance, you see towards the end of the movie where Mero and Miklo are walking on the lower yard. Mero is going to be put in the transport van. They're arranging his transport to Delano after they had a meeting with Bonafide. Miklo had a meeting with Bonafide, and Mero, and they agree to bring about a truce. And both Miklo and Mero Montana are in waist chains. Well, why would Miklo be in waist chains if he's not being transported, right? You don't just walk the yard in waist chains. That's not what you do, right? And that's not even where you go for transportation. You go to R&R, receiving and release. So doing the special transport, Miklo's waist chained with him. He walks over to him. He bids him goodbye. And it's just unrealistic, right? It's unrealistic. Some of the scenes you see in there. Like in one scene, they're burning the tear. And I remember that distinctly. This would happen on New Year's Eve, every New Year's Eve, that they would burn the tear. They would call in the fire departments to put up big fans. People would light mattresses on fire, blankets, everything, throw off bombs and light fires. And everybody would be drunk and high, and the cops wouldn't even bother us. That's what kind of madhouse it was. San Quentin was a madhouse. But, you know, in the grander scheme of things, we look at the movie, and you see in one scene where Miklo is begging for membership, right? Here in this picture. He gets on his knees and he begs to be part of La Onda. He says he's part white, but his blood is Chicano, right? Or I hate that word. His blood is brown, right? And he begs for, give me the chance, please, please give me a chance. Like begging, literally begging Montana. And that's just not the way it's done in the organization. You can't even ask to be a member in the organization. If you ask, you're disqualified. In fact, I remember people from Hawaiian Gardens asked me and Tecolote to become a member. And I pretty much laughed. People ended up becoming a member. But to me and Daryl, it was kind of like, are you kidding me? You're asking us? You're asking us to be a member? Nobody asks to be a member. It's kind of like immediate disqualification. So I don't know how people ultimately got in. And then there's this scene where Miklo's begging, where Montana has his apple, right? And this apple is, I guess, some kind of symbolism for the organization, right? But the apple is like a symbol of vitality and renewal, right? It's not nefarious or dark in any way. So I didn't get the significance of the apple in the movie, right? This is extremely important to this guy. Montana, the philosopher, peacekeeper, was templated after Cheyenne, because Cheyenne wanted this peace. I think so, right? Because Cheyenne wanted peace among the people, wanted to advance the people, black and brown together, blah, blah, blah. That's why Cheyenne got killed. He was trying to bring together the NF and got whacked out by the NF. And you know, the Cardenales didn't approve that. I think ultimately Cheyenne would have got whacked because he was going against the grain. The Cardenales on the main line were waging war against multiple NF members, and Cheyenne comes out of his cell in North Block unarmed, knowing that the Cardenales had just killed multiple NF members, and they whack him out. So I strongly believe that this character is templated after that. Cheyenne Cadena, Montana here, El Mero Mero. He's the boss of all bosses. That's what that means, right? So that scene struck me as freaking corny, right? Just really extremely corny. Then after this uprising, Bonafide meets with Miklo. He meets with Miklo on the upper yard, and that's magic right here. Right here. They're having the meeting. They agreed to 5 days truce, and Montana's going to get a transfer to Delano. And you see that occurring here in this graphic, where Montana's actually had the warden. They agreed to transfer him to Delano for 5 days so he could arrange a peace treaty for Folsom, Chino, Delano, everywhere, right? I'm not even sure that Delano was in existence at that time. I'm not sure. I could be mistaken, but he gets to Delano after this, and then the person being transferred is going to be in waist chains, not the person walking with him, right? You can walk with people to R&R, no problem. But R&R is against a wall right here that's facing, it's right directly in front of them, right? Up to the right in the middle of the center of the yard. And that's where he would go for transport. You wouldn't go to the upper yard like this for a lower yard like this for a transfer. And back here in the corner was once Coyote Park. Anybody know about Coyote Park? You know. There's fish, there's a water feature. It was pretty cool. It was actually pretty cool back here. And this wall right here is industries. This over here past the gun tower is maintenance. I had a job in here. A lot of people go and have jobs there. But this yard was pretty huge. Iconic, right? So it brings back a lot of memories. So Montana, he's arranged the peace treaty. He has a discussion with this guy. This is where Warden Dan Vasquez pops in. This is the actual warden of San Quentin. He was a technical advisor to the movie. And in fact, when I testified in Operation Knockout, United States of America versus Raul Leon et al., which there were a few carnales involved in that. But I went and testified as an expert. He came as an expert to rebut my testimony, but obviously they lost that trial. You know, he's working for advocacy now. That's what he does. And I imagine he's a great guy. He's just not a very good expert, not in my opinion, because he hasn't won any cases in terms of him being part of the prosecution or our defense team. Not that I know of. The cases that I know of, he's lost. So Don Vasquez comes in, the real warden, and he agrees and arranges this transfer from Montana, where Montana goes to Delano and sees a black guy, right? He's in there, gives him a pack of cigarettes, and what does the black guy do? Stabs him through the bars. He stabs Montana. Montana's eliminated, right? And then it jumps everywhere. There's fires on the tiers. It's crazy. Immediately after this black individual stabs Montana, he breaks open the comb, and which is the power of the Afro comb, right? He says when Bonafide chose, he says there's power in this comb, right? And it's Bonafide's comb. He sends it supposedly to this black individual in Delano, and secreted within that comb is this little kite. Montana Segura, Delano, right? So he busts up the comb, he flushes the comb, burns the kite, and Montana is eliminated. It goes all crazy everywhere, right? It goes crazy. And they come to an accord. The BGA and La Onda come to an accord where they're going to assault the AVers together, right? So Miklo goes to his plotting. But one of the things that I noticed immediately when Montana goes to Delano and he meets this old black gentleman here, and he's getting ready for his daughter's visit because they arranged for him to have a 1-hour visit with his daughter. He hadn't seen her in 14 years. The black gentleman holds the comb up so Montana can comb his hair. And Montana's handcuffed to the bars adjacent to this man's cell. And as he's combing his hair, I looked at this image, he looks just like Cuate Grajeda. He's got a bit more of a hook nose, but it's just that evil, ugly look, right? Like he's trying to smile, but there's no smile coming out of his eyes, right? And it just struck me like that looks like Cuate, right? He's got those dead eyes, those dead shark eyes. But immediately after this guy holds up this mirror, he whacks Montana, right? Right there. He begins talking to him about his brother, and they killed his brother at that nightclub on the streets, and all that was Hollywood spin, because that never happened. Really none of this stuff ever happened. This is all made up. It's all farcical. One of my favorite images is when Popeye comes out in the red panties, like a gangster. Right? No gangster wears red panties, right? This guy was a joke of a gangster, right? Over the top, like ridiculous, clownish, and he was like the leader of the AV, right? I mean, excuse me, the La Onda, one of the leaders, right? He had a crew, right? The other scene was where he pushes Miklo into the cell and tries to take his manhood from him, and then he's saved by the carnales, right? And then there's Danny Trejo, Geronimo. He's a little tiny guy compared to the other, because Mexicans aren't that tall. I mean, 5'9", 5'10", And Danny's a little tiny guy. Like he's a half a foot shorter than these guys. But this is when he was young, right? Played a good role, especially for the hit on Big Al in the kitchen when they whack out Big Al in the kitchen. Danny plays a part in putting the knife in the stock pot. But that whole scene where he does whack out Big Al in the kitchen is just totally wrong. That he's going to play along and be a victim of Big Al. Big Al sexually harassing him. He's grabbing his buttocks. And then finally when he goes in there, Miklo sucks his finger and rubs his crotch. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. No hit's done that way. You do a hit, you walk in, you do the hit, and who cares if you're caught? You just do it. But it shows some corruption with the cop. Where they find the debt book and the money, and La Onda takes it all after whacking out Big Al. I'm telling you, the whole movie is kind of a joke. You can't take it seriously because there's no reflection of the organizations in this movie at all. And, you know, the behaviors that they were heavily influenced by the technical advisors, Stan Vasquez being one of them, which is why the movie really never took off anywhere. It just became a cult favorite, right? Not like American Me. American Me got some... And this was produced by Hollywood Pictures, the movie Blood In, Blood Out. So it begs the question, right? If that's the case, if this is templated after Joe Morgan, including the prosthetic leg that Miklo had, then why wasn't a suit filed? And why wasn't there opposition from the organization? And why didn't anybody get whacked, right? Because the truth is that nobody got whacked in American Me. Nobody got whacked in American Me. This movie here. There was rumors, and I've seen content creators get up and say 10 people got killed, 7 people got killed, 3 people got killed, right? Nobody got killed because of American Me. And that's the truth. I don't care who's spin on it, who says what, who heard what, who told who. There is not one documented debrief. There is not one documented transcript in which a witness or cooperating informant says that American Me eliminations were because of the organization. Not at all. Because there was Ana Lizarraga, right? She was eliminated by Jose Gonzalez and his brother. Then there was Charlie Brown Manriquez. He was eliminated by David Gallardo. And there was Rocky Luna, who was eliminated by Pee Wee Aguirre. All 3 were Mexican Mafia hits, right? No doubt about it. They all 3 happened to play some role as technical advisement in the movie. But the reason, the ideology for this, the cause, you know, is way before the movie was even conceived. Ana Lizarraga was a youth counselor with that youth gang. She had a little car she drove, and everybody thought she was a rat. And as soon as Smilone came into power, he seen an opportunity to eliminate her like muscle. He did. That's all it was. She should have never been touched. She was just doing her job as a youth counselor, trying to keep the community safe. And I'm certain she talked to law enforcement. I mean, people saw her do it multiple times, but she was not an informant. I don't believe that. Charlie Brown Enriquez, I was out in 1988, years before this movie was even thought of. And I remember we were talking about eliminating him then. I volunteered to go. And I said that in previous videos before even doing a critique on any of this stuff, right? And I said Charlie Brown Enriquez had issues, right? He had issues with the organization. He was non-productive. He was a hobo. He was living in cars in abandoned houses. I told the story about he took me in an abandoned house, and it was like his chateau. It was an empty, abandoned garage with candles and a big spool for a table and some milk crates. And this is my pad, bro. Check out my pad. It's pretty nice. And I was like, damn, bro, you're living like a hobo, right? But he thought it was a bad luck for the organization. He was stealing bananas from the store and going and selling them. And he was stealing car batteries to support his heroin habit. I tried to take him on a couple of things. I took him, we robbed some connections when I was out there. But he was just never productive. He was a bum. He was a bum. He didn't know anything else but to shoot dope. And then Rocky was eliminated ultimately because he didn't take care of somebody in the hood that he was supposed to take care of. There was an individual claiming to be a carnal, and And Rocky got it. That's his hood. He's supposed to take care of it. Well, Shai came in and did it, right? And Samailon seen the opportunity to knock Rocky off the pedestal because Rocky was the godfather, right, of the Ramona Gardens. And Samayon Gallardo saw an opportunity to do that. And which is one of the reasons why I think Samailon ran into some of the problems he ran into when he went to the Feds, because Samailon ultimately got whacked up there. Rocky was well loved, right? And it hurt Shai when that happened. It really did. It hurt a lot of people, right? But Shai in particular, because that was his compadre, his real compadre, right? And they were good friends. So let's dispel that myth that American Me resulted in eliminations. It's not true. I don't care if Danny Trejo says it or anybody else. It's straight bullshit. It is straight bullshit. Show me testimony, police reports, or documented debriefs where individuals validate this and corroborate it independently, right? It's not. This is just guys flapping their jibs, right? This is no reflection towards content creators or anybody else. I told you guys this. I don't do that. I don't talk about other content creators. It's not a reflection or a reaction to anybody's video. This is what I know, right? I don't care what they say. I'm telling you what the truth is. And this is ultimately the truth. Because you're going to hear 20 other people pop up and say, no, they were whacked out because of this or that. And it's not true, right? And if that was the case, carnales, because the big thing was, these are two Mexican Mafia members that acted or played a role in a movie, and they're not supposed to do that, right? American Me, right? Rocky and Charlie Brown acted as technical advisors, as did Ana Lidia Zaraga. She played a role in the movie. The grandma, when the grandson ODs in the room, she plays that role. So that was one of the reasons they brought up too. But if that was the case, then what about this? Let me show you this real quick. This is going to stop it right now. There's a movie that came out in 1979 with Peter Strauss called The Jericho Mile, right? About an inmate in Folsom that breaks a world record, you know? And it's based in Folsom. I mean, I was there. I recognize the place, you know? Whoever been to Folsom, you know it's Folsom State Prison, right? There's very little prison politics involved in this movie. There's some, but not to the degree of Blood In, Blood Out or American Me. But if that was the big sin, participating in a movie, being a technical advisor, then what about these guys, right? What about Robot Salas, Mexican Mafia member, right there as an extra in the movie, right? That's a made Mexican Mafia member right there in the movie Jericho Mile, 1979. That's him working out. And what about this guy? Who might that be right there? Who's that guy? That's San Ojeda, right there. San Ojeda depicted in this movie, right? And these are real camaradas acting as this guy comes out in a couple of scenes from Brole. And what about this? Okay, so say, okay, they didn't say anything about the clica. The clica's not mentioned in here, right? Not at all. What does that say right there? Ruben M. Ruben M. That's Mexican Mafia. These are the handball courts right there. The Mexican Mafia controlled these handball courts. This actually looks like Nico Velasquez, but I don't think he was part of the movie. It really looks like Nico, and he did play handball. And then there's this right here. Right here. La M. This is part of this movie. And there were Mexican Mafia members and camaradas involved in this, the production of this movie, and nothing happened. So if that was the bar that got people whacked out in American Me, then why didn't it happen here? Why didn't it happen in La Onda or Blood In, Blood Out? So, look, I think the real question is, and that's what I'm trying to address here, because I'm rambling. I digress. I'm just seeing all these pictures. I'm seeing all these graphics, and I'm comparing Blood In, Blood Out with American Me. I loved American Me far better than this movie. I mean, it's great for a laugh, for shits and giggles, but if that was a standard, right? Being involved in movies that depict the organization in some manner, and the icons of the organization at that, right? Joe Morgan, he was an icon for the organization. They even go down, they go as far as replicating the prosthetic leg, right? If that was the bar for having people eliminated, right? Because it's a secret, right? You can't talk about the organization. Then why not here? Why not with Blood In, Blood Out? Why only an American Me? It doesn't make sense, folks. If it don't make sense, it don't make dollars. Yeah, it's just, I'm going to have to dismiss that rumor as just a bunch of comadres flapping their jibs about what they think they know and they don't really know it. I mean, because when you really put logic to it, I mean, if we use, I mean, I'm trying to use something empirical. Like, there's statistics here, right? There's data here that we can extract from. We can extrapolate from this, and we can come up with a hypothesis, right? And we're doing that. If that was a big bar, American Me, then why not these other movies? That's my say on this, folks. That's how I feel. My feelings ain't going to change, because I said this for the longest. Not one person was eliminated because of American Me. And Blood In, Blood Out is a really cool movie if you want a good laugh. But it doesn't reflect the general reality of the organization. It depicts a lot of prison reality. But a lot of it is artistic liberty from Hollywood. Well, with that said, let's go see the movie, folks. Let's go check it out. See what you think. Compare it to American Me. Compare it to what you know. Compare it to what I said. And compare it to what other content creators and other media outlets have said about the organization and this movie. All right, folks. With that said, hope you enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful day. That's my movie review. Peace out.
This is Rene Enriquez. Nickname Boots.